Alpha men, beta males. Where do you belong in the jungle? Or you know what? Better yet, in today's society. Make sure you tap in with us today on Black Fly on the Wall podcast as we discuss this phenomena. We appreciate the love and support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And drop it in the group chat. We want to hear what you got to say. Another one. Of course, before we get into the topic, we're going to introduce everybody on the platform, on the cast. To my right here, we got a new face. Introduce yourself, bro.
What's going on? Derek Boone here. Big Boone Theory on Instagram. Derek G. Boone is my business consulting page. Glad to be here.
Facts.
Appreciate you having me.
Facts. To my left, another familiar face. Tell them what's up. Introduce
Colton
yourself.
Palmer. Of course, got a throw in from Durham to Bull City. This time I'll give you my handles at Colton Palmer, COLTONPALMER. I got, I brought Bedlam vodka in the building today for us to sip on a little bit.
Hold your cups up, fellas.
For us to enjoy.
So, and I'm gonna say this: I'm not a vodka drinker
It's smooth though.
at all. I mean, that would be absolutely my last choice. But this right here, I'm convinced. Because it's the first vodka I've ever had where it's not, you don't have any burn whenever you sip it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it's very, very versatile, especially now for the summer months.
Absolutely.
Man, you can do a little sunrise with this right here, a little vodka sunrise.
Mix it up.
You can do different things and kind of still enjoy it without having that traditional vodka burn. So, like, shout out to Bedlam Vodka for that, and we are thoroughly enjoying it today. But today, man, I am Aaron, your host. We are talking about a topic, and this topic right here is for the ladies, but I think it's more so also maybe for the fellas. And this topic today is alpha men, beta males. Understanding what they are, understanding how to identify them, understanding the hierarchical positions, and understanding what each one of these individuals plays in modern society today. And I'm a firm believer that we need alpha men and we need beta men to make sure that balance is always in order whenever it comes to us being the men that play a major role in how society runs and how the world works. And so we're gonna kick it off with, Boom. What's your perspective on that, man? What's your perspective on I think the one that everybody wants to speak on first is alpha males.
Man, so as soon as I hear alpha male, I attribute that to leadership, right? Leadership. You're a leader in your pack. That's where it comes from, right? From an animalistic standpoint. We have leaders in different capacities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have leaders in sports, right? The alpha male may be the one who teaches people how to do things or tell people where to go. The alpha male in society might be the person that people look at. And I think people on the outside think of it as a physical thing more so. So they think the biggest, strongest, fastest, or the most pronounced person in maybe the room is the alpha male. However, I also think that there are different aspects to that, right? So it may not be the biggest, fastest, strongest, but it might be the most meticulous. It might be the most strong person mentally. It might be the person who can hold their emotional intelligence the best. It might be the person who can strategize the best. So I feel like the alpha versus beta is a conversation around leaders versus followers. So if you're alpha male, per se, for this conversation, you should be able to bring out the alpha males out of your team, because I'm a team player.
Absolutely.
So if I'm the leader, the spearhead, I may be the point of contact. However, I know the person sitting left of me is smarter than me, can handle a conversation better than me. And I should be able to point that, in your direction and say, hey, in that point, I'm the beta male.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? At that point, I'm handing it off to you because I know that you can do it better than me. So I think the point of leadership is the conversation around the alpha.
I like that.
Male, if that makes sense.
I
like
like
that.
it, but
I
I
like
don't consider that beta at all,
All right, dude, go ahead.
right? Being able to delegate is an alpha trait in my mind, right?
Facts.
Because you
Right,
know
right,
your
right, right.
strengths. You know where you're good. You know where you can hold up the fort or hold down the fort, and you know where you need help, right? That in and of itself is being conscious of who you are. right? If you beta, you think you can do this shit. You know what I'm saying? You think you have what it takes. You ain't been put through the fire yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, all right, I hear you in that space, but now I'm going to give you the task as the alpha and say, okay, you want this spot? Show me you can do it, right? That is what I agree with you there when you were like, the alpha should be able to bring the alpha out of everybody else, right? And like you said, he ain't always the biggest person in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He ain't always the loudest person in the room. He usually that nigga that's sitting in the corner watching everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because he's regulating.
Absolutely.
That's what alphas do. You regulate, right?
Yep.
Delegation is a part of regulation.
Yeah.
That was hard too.
That was a bar. We gotta write that down, dog.
You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I don't believe that. Let me backtrack. I do believe that there are beta males, right? I do. believe
There has to be. If there's an alpha male, there has to be a beta male.
But remember, every beta can become an alpha.
Absolutely.
If we look at, like you brought up biology, brought up nature, the only difference between where we are and where animals are is we have consciousness, right? We have the ability to act against our instincts. So in our space, is there really a beta or an alpha? Because effectively, that's based on instinct.
For sure.
Right? And in this space, if you have the faculties to make decisions, then you have the opportunity to become an alpha.
So you said something very critical, because you said that a beta male can become an alpha male. And so that also has to be understood amongst the men, is that change is inevitable.
Change is inevitable.
And we're hinting around the conversation, but let's look at a wolf pack. Right? That alpha male of that wolf pack hasn't always been an alpha. It was a pup.
Whoop some ass.
It was a pup. It had to fight. It had to do some things. It had to do some things that really spark a fire in his pack.
Absolutely.
To say that, okay, he's on the rise of being alpha. Right. And yeah, you have to one day, I kind of look at it like alpha versus beta, is that you have to one day have an inner war with yourself, a spiritual war on the inside of yourself. You're not going to physically be a beta and physically go at an alpha male in reality to be alpha. Right. Being alpha is an intrinsic thing. So you have to hone in on the beta of yourself and the alpha of yourself and tell your beta self that, okay, it's time for us to rise to the occasion and transition to this leadership role, big dog role. Push yourself, be uncomfortable, delegate, being humble, knowing how to listen more than you speak, and to always put yourself around other alpha males so that you can level up, because there's levels to this. It's not that you become alpha and get lazy. It's you become alpha and you progress. Jay-Z is what you consider that. Alpha, yeah. He was alpha when he did drop Reasonable Doubt, and he came into the rap game with 150 grand large of his own money. But now he's a billionaire. He didn't stay at 150,000. Right. You know, he stayed at a Billy. Kanye West is another example of that. Diddy is an example of that.
Those men learned those traits.
Because you surround yourself with other alpha men. How can you be something that you know that you don't look up to? Like, even with this group of us right here, it's something in each one of you that I look up to, which is why I asked you to be on this pod. I don't want to be on no podcast with nobody that can't help me grow.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like I want to run with guys that I am essentially very similar with and people that can make me up my game. Right. Like, I think I told you about my boy in California, Itwa, that's Nigerian, and he has all the real estate properties. My boy Lee has real estate properties. These guys put me in a zone like, I got to get that because the alpha in me, the competitive, it sparks the competitiveness in me. I'm like, hold on, why ain't I own this yet?
Peep how you weren't envious of those.
Correct. No, it's like, okay, it made me want to step my game up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's an alpha quality.
I mean, Desmond Scott that left, he's somebody that I look at as an alpha.
Absolutely.
He put me to the side like, yo, what you doing make me want to do this for my podcast. You put me in the room with people that can help me get my podcast to the next level. So it's like, it's all about recognizing alpha energy and building so that you all can continue to elevate and keep the playing field.
I'm feeling mad. I'm feeling a whole bunch of energy from my
what's up, Cole? What's up? Talk to us, Cohen.
I just think I have a unique perspective on, that I have the ability to know the exact day and time that the alpha male in me was cultivated.
Okay. Tell us
And I
about
have to
that.
give a little. I have to give a little context because, you know, I come from a wrestling background. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. Started wrestling when I was 5 years old. We had a particular coach that would come train us every morning. He'd be there at 5:30 in the morning before school. From 9 years old to 18, I either lifted or wrestled before school every single day. Nice. So we had a wrestling room at the crib, weight room at the crib. His name was C.C. Fisher. Not somebody who shows much sympathy. He's a tough dude. Mm-hmm. Whining, complaining means tears mean nothing to him. And
he hard.
Yeah, it's just. But in wrestling, it's a mentality. And my dad always talked about the alpha male and all that. But when I was probably, say about 11 or 12 years old, we're wrestling one day. We've been out there about an hour and a half. It's probably 100+ degrees. You know, outside the shed's even hotter where we work out. And he literally took me to what I would consider my breaking point. Breaking point was a term used in my household a lot. Breaking point is not when something hurts. It's when you feel like death is moments away. And my dad would always say, your goal is to move your breaking point. Well, CC didn't allow me to make a decision on my breaking point moving that day.
Yeah, you broke.
I'm crying, barely standing up. He essentially is just fucking me up. Mm-hmm. And at a point in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? So I got out of my wrestling stance. I reared back and I punched him as hard as I could, with all my might.
That's when it woke up.
He was a grown man though. He was a grown man. And I'm like 11, 12-year-old. I punch him as hard as I can. He said, "Now take that and put it into your wrestling." And we continued to wrestle, and that's when the tears stopped coming. That's when I was able to then translate anger, pain, all of those things, and channel them into what I was doing.
You taking the words out of my mouth.
It was a new zone.
Absolutely.
And from that point on, I looked at wrestling differently. I looked at the sport as this guy may be more technically sound, and he's winning in the first period, but about halfway through the second, this dude has a sense that his breaking point is close, and then you saw that moment when everything came out. It came out of he took him to his breaking point, and he broke him. Mm-hmm. And then from that point on, he dominated. What's that?
You know who David Goggins is?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I'm not super familiar.
That point you just made about you could see it in that person when their breaking point was coming.
You can feel
that's
it.
when you move
in.
That's when you. That's right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's when you come in and close.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, the alpha male in the room, wrestling room, was always earned. When I was the alpha male in 8th grade and middle school, I moved into high school, I was not.
I was
in a room with 3 alpha males, 2-time defending state champs. Mm-hmm. These dudes were dominant. They were kicking my ass every day. But me being a beta in that moment, I'm 115 pounds. They're 130, 140. Right. But they knew I was on
they knew you was coming
alpha because I was fighting. No matter how bad they beat me, I was still scrapping. I was doing illegal shit. I was punching nuts if I had to. It didn't matter. Like, you weren't just gonna fuck me up.
Because alpha comes from here.
Exactly.
It's hard.
And then the main thing for me, once wrestling ended, I had to relearn how to take that mentality and put it into the business world and in life. That was a transition because everything up to that point was handled physically. Mm-hmm. My dad was like, cherish this time where you can put your hands on somebody. Mm-hmm. And when you're done with wrestling, you won't be able to.
I got to talk to your pops, man.
Yeah.
Pops be dropping good Pops be dropping gems, dog.
Hey,
bring Pops through.
My pops
would never.
My dad drops major gems. I mean, like, his whole even approach to bringing us up was just, I mean, I got to give him his due. I got to give him his credit. And he's a great talker, so we endured quite a few lectures. You know what I'm saying, as kids.
Right.
But man, when I transitioned, I was, moving to the workforce. I knew what I was capable of. I knew nobody could outwork me. I was willing to work harder than anybody.
Like that.
But there was also a sense of, I have to earn these guys' respect around me. Every single seat I was at a car dealership. Every single seat in the dealership, from the secretary to the salesman to the kid who's running and grabbing keys for valet, I had to earn every single person's respect in order to lead them. And that's what a lot of cats miss. They come in and they try to just be a dickhead. They dictate.
You learn how to serve.
But that's how the alpha gets killed. When you come in and try to dictate, and you haven't earned the respect.
You learn how to sell.
Yep.
You learn how to serve.
Hold on, that's a good point, because that's when they think they alphas, but they not, because they flexing too much.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up down the street. It was 20 dudes in the neighborhood. I'm I'm second oldest, so I was already a beta.
Yeah.
I'm already born into second.
Yeah.
So if my brother walk in right now, I still am beta because he big dog. He ain't gotta say nothing because nobody would know him like that. But if he walk in, he'll be like, yeah. But he's that person that if everybody's around here and he say move, everybody gonna move.
Yeah.
So that's like those leadership that you trust and stuff like that. Like through my siblingship and through the neighborhood, it's like I grew up with people from in Durham, same way. I know the same way.
Yeah.
From 5 to 14, we 5, they 14. They walk down the street, you a beta until you show that fight that Colton just said. Until you show that fight is that one person that hit you and is like, I ain't gonna take this no more. Yeah. And then when you go to whatever your situation is, whether it be in business, whether it be in the community, whatever, you take that dog that is still instilled in you and you just hone in on it. It's easy to you now because you grew up with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? We go through college and we already got it.
And
game right now is everyone is saying this without saying this. You have to follow before you can lead.
Absolutely.
You have to know how to follow before you can lead. Every single one of y'all just brought up examples of how you had to follow first before you knew what an alpha really was.
Absolutely.
And then you learn that trait when it woke up in you. You know what I'm saying? When it woke up in you. It woke up in you. You realize,
Absolutely.
oh, this is how this works.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And one point, one thing, and you keep saying that word, one thing I want to make sure that we highlight is that transmutation of energy that you had. And you said that your coach told you, all right, take that and apply it to this. And you then took that same lesson from him. You transmutated that energy from what you used to wrestle, and you said, okay, time to go to business now.
Yep.
Let me take that. And that's one key universal law that people neglect. Yeah. They neglect the law of transmutation of it's a law that you can use to be successful, and you can use and apply to almost anything that you have. That's what fasting is. Yeah. Fasting, you're supposed to stop what you're doing from one thing in particular and transition that energy into something else. So you stop eating meat to meditate longer. You stop doing, you fast from sex in order to achieve a goal, to pass a board exam, to get a new job, whatever it may be. You transmute the energy. The energy has always been there. It's just you've been applying it to something else.
And you just said something that made me, damn, I need to bring my dad on here for real. Because my pops, when he was 22, my dad's, I guess, like 60, he's about 60, he's 65 now. When he was 22 years old, he became a pescatarian.
Okay.
Just because he wrote a paper.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's been about 20 years now. For Lent, he gave up eating Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My dad, for the last 20 years, has not ate food on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday.
Eating at all?
Wow. Period.
Wow.
It doesn't matter the holiday.
Drink water?
Just water.
Just drink water. And
just fluids. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he does not. Everyone told him he was crazy to do it.
No.
But then all of these studies start coming out. All of that fasting is good for this and that. But his was just, it was intuitive. Yeah, and discipline. It showed me.
That is a trait of an alpha male.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Unbelievable discipline.
It is. Alpha male has supreme discipline from all things, from alcohol, sex, from women, from overworking, from underworking. They have discipline in all areas. And so I feel like that's when a man hits his peak, is when he masters discipline, right? And it's difficult to call yourself alpha if you lack discipline.
Yeah.
Like if you have to go to the club all the time, if you got to buy a section every time you go out, if you got to have 3 or 4 women, if you got to respond to every post, you lack discipline if you react to everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you know how much energy it takes to not react to something?
That's what you control.
Yeah.
You control.
And so
what
if you can
control,
right? You learn that. You learn that very very early in alpha male stage.
Every man, I'm talking to black men in particular, but every man in general has the ability
To unlock it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It, like you said, takes discipline. You want to become an alpha? Discipline.
Go through the initiation of yourself. It's an initiation of your soul. You know, like you have to be willing to go through the initiation process of your soul, because it's gonna be rocky. You're gonna have self-identity issues. You're gonna lose friends. You're going to start contemplating your profession. You're going to start contemplating your vulnerability in that moment because you let your coach see you cry.
Yeah.
So he either could have took that as an opportunity to harm you emotionally or harvest it emotionally. And so you had to go through that to get to the point where you were. And so everything comes with a price.
Yeah.
When you in that transition, I think that's something that has to be understood.
And I don't mean to make this into I'm selling the sport of wrestling, but I gotta
it's where you learned your lessons.
I gotta say
Learn life through it.
for black men and women at this point, because my niece wrestles now. We didn't ask her to wrestle. She started off in judo and she wanted to wrestle, but I say this: wrestling is a sport, and people say it's not a team sport; it's an individual sport. I think it's the greatest team sport on earth because every individual is held accountable for their actions. When I step out on the mat, I can't ask coach for help. I can't tag nobody in. I can't pass the ball to them. It's on me. So if I get pinned, I let the team down.
Yep.
Now, if I win, I help the team. But there's also moments where I may be my opponent's better than me. But if I give up a pin, we lose 6 points. If he just beats me, I give up 3 points. So there's still a level.
Escape artist, you gaining points.
Yeah, but I can still
Stay in that match
stay
and
in
lose.
that match. So it's about the team.
Just don't get pinned.
Just don't get pinned. We can't give that up.
Don't lose.
You can't give up. You can't give up. So, but what wrestling?
But see, that's alpha because you still saw a win and a loss.
Yeah.
Because you're able. Alpha is able to analyze the entire playing field and say, you know what, A to B may be the goal. Getting from B to A may be the goal. But guess what? There's a B 2.0 that you need to get to too.
Greater goal.
Yeah.
So and it's sacrifice too.
It's sacrifice for the greater good of the squad, pretty much. But what it also, I think, it instilled in when you talked about discipline. Wrestling is unique in the sense that the preparation is harder than the match.
It is.
Cutting weight the whole week, not being able to eat, drink, like trying to making weight is extremely challenging.
Wow.
Then you have
You ain't
competition.
been in that hot box. That's what they saying that. They ain't been in that.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
it's
trash. I wrestled in high school.
Wrestling is a beast, and
I got it.
also practice is harder than competition. Yeah, practice is harder than competition. Well, hey, it's a lot of sacrifice, discipline that it takes to get, and not every kid's going to be able to just wrestle.
Right.
But and when it comes to developing character in young men, especially young black men, because a lot of our sports that, and I hate to say it this way, 'cause I just don't have another word for it, but because it's not, I don't mean this in a negative connotation, but football, basketball almost have a gang mentality. We're a unit and we go beat this unit. But for an individual to go out by themselves, I have no one to blame. I have no one to depend on. It's on me, but it's still for the good of the squad. I think even playing football or basketball, when a kid gets in, a lot of your wrestlers that play football end up being exceptional.
Yep.
Because they know their job is extremely important and they have to execute because their execution is for the greater good of the squad. And even if I may look bad on this play, it's for the sake of the team advancing.
Absolutely.
Justin Gorham and John Lyon.
Yeah, I know Gorman.
They taught me that.
Yeah.
That very thing you talking about right now.
So check this. I got a question. Well, a question and a statement. So you made a good point. Coaching, you know that you just left St. Louis. Coaching can bring out the alpha male out of somebody, right? If you know how to reach them in a certain capacity, you can touch their alpha male. If somebody might be timid, but they really got something to unlock.
Exactly.
And, they might be a beta, shy or whatever, or what people perceive as, but they really have the alpha mentality if you can unlock it, right? Yeah. So when you say that, like coaching, and it might not be in sports, like pivot from sports, like it might be somebody on your team that he's really good at wrestling, but that's not really his love.
Yeah,
and then you talk to him and you have the conversation and he really loves something else, music or
debate,
something.
Or the debate team.
Yeah, debate team. And then you unlock his alpha male in that perspective. And I don't think society sees that, whereas coaches can see that. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you really want to do? Do you really want to, like, I know you're actually good or you can be good. You have the potential to be good. But what do you really like? And I don't think many people, especially as black men, we don't have those conversations enough with our people who we think got to play sports or got to do certain things. Like, we don't we don't figure out like what makes your mind tick. Like, what do you like?
It's an awareness. It's almost
Right.
like pledging, for example. You have to be pledging, for
it's
example.
like pledging.
You have to be aware. Each individual has a different experience that may unlock what they need to get to the next level.
Absolutely.
But you also have to be able to evaluate who you're cultivating that alpha male within.
Absolutely.
For me, it was a physical, it was a fight, it was a discovering within myself that now, instead of going out there and I'm thinking about getting a takedown or thinking I may win this match, now I go into matches. My dad would say in my ear, top of the food chain, I say, time to eat. Because I'm going to go impose my will on someone else. But wrestling's a one-on-one. So I'm going to dominate, and I'm going to beat him so bad physically, mentally, to where instead of just him losing, he never actually wants to step out on the mat with me again. That was my goal. I felt like I was going to win. I was going to win anyway.
Yeah.
Now I want to make sure you try to find a new weight class because you don't get your ass kicked
alpha.
again. Yeah.
Right.
But every individual has something that unlocks that, because I've seen a ton of kids that just aren't physically and athletically gifted enough to wrestle on the next level, Division I.
Right.
But when you unlock that in them in that space, in a high school at a very amateur level, now when they go to, my brother's got engineers on the team. Yeah. Those kids are going into work like, boom, I'm doing this to get it done. We're gonna do like it just is a trigger for you. That's like, damn, I'm not sitting back to be given orders.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go get it done.
Absolutely.
So I've been consolidating everything that we're saying, right, into key points, right, like action points, takeaways, etc. Right. So the top thing that I've heard everybody say, discipline, right? That's the key. That's the first part.
Yeah.
The second part, because you touched on it when you said I was looking at the win within the loss, right? Critical thinking / analysis. You got to have those skills.
Yes.
You got to be able to see through the bullshit. Take the meat from the bones. The third point is self-awareness. Self-awareness in my mind means emotional intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't transmute that energy unless you're emotionally intelligent.
Absolutely.
You gotta know you're feeling something.
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel whatever you feel, what can you do with that?
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? Versus allowing those emotions to take you. I've spoken about this before. Like in our community, in our demographic, a lot of times we see emotion as weakness. Right?
Yes.
And it took me longer to figure out that aspect of it. Absolutely.
And so a lot of us sit back and say, oh, if you're emotional, you're weak. I don't think that's the case. I think it's the lack of control over said emotions
Yes.
that makes you weak.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You're
So in
actually
that
weak
space,
if you don't express your emotions.
you express yourself. Exactly. You've made yourself a unilateral being. You're easy to break.
Exactly.
The triune cord is harder to cut.
So why you say that? Emotional intelligence is what people are hiring on now over IQ.
Right.
Because you can teach. All of us are capable of everything.
Right.
Doing a job.
And now we talk about, the growth mindset and things like that. Like, how do you respond if your day don't go right?
Right.
Like,
Emotional
a lot of
intelligence.
people will break. Like, have a
And
breakdown.
that affects
And,
a company's
I ain't-
overall bottom out
Yeah, that's
outcome,
why. That's
financial
the
outcome,
number
because
one.
you're hiring people who can't
Can't
make it
cope.
through the day
They
to
can't
do
cope.
the work that you need them to do.
Right.
And being
I mean,
so I had the physical, acumen, whatever the case may be, and the mentality, the killer instinct. But like you mentioned, what I lacked and I had the success I had in high school. I had some success in college, but I didn't have the same success because it became much less about the physical, because everyone's elite at this point.
Yeah.
It's the guys who did have the emotional intelligence. I was still in that space of being emotional, being soft. And most coaches were even pushing that.
Yep.
But the guys who could either block out their coach because I know better about myself, my body, my recovery, things like that, or that I need to express my emotions, those are the guys who had more success on higher levels, because those guys, and I learned it later,
They self-regulate.
you self-regulate, and those knowing how to understand your emotions, how to deal with your emotions instead of bottling them up, keeps you away in sports and competition, away from anxiety.
Yes.
Things that distract you from your overall goal. The guys who can get that level presence, get that vibrations on the right level. Everyone talks about being in the zone. I've probably been in the zone 3 times in my life. I've probably been in the zone 3 times in my life.
That's why y'all sitting together.
But the guys who are special know how to put themselves in the zone.
zone,
And a
yes.
lot of people think they've been in the zone, but the 3 times in my wrestling career where I was in the zone, it was like, dude was moving in slow.
Can't nobody beat
No,
you.
I mean,
when you lock in.
I mean, like
Can't nobody
Kobe
beat you.
talked about it.
Yep.
Kobe talked about how like he would get in Mamba mode, be in the zone and can't hear nobody in the crowd.
Nobody.
I don't even
Tunnel
remember.
vision.
Honestly,
Tunnel
don't
vision.
remember.
He
that.
talked about he talked about not as like a hypothetical thing. He said he literally couldn't hear nothing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you being in the zone is a level is a part of your brain that you unlock. You know, they say that humans use 10% of their actual brain. Imagine if you could use 25 to 35% of that, where you would be, right?
I don't know how
Accessing.
factual that is.
But come on now.
I feel your point.
But you know what? But hold on. I think that's the difference between people that are geniuses and people that are not. Because I believe that a person that's a genius is literally accessing more of his brain. That's why Albert Einstein's brain looked different from everybody else's, because
He also socially.
yeah, well, you
He was tapping into that and staying
but the
in
thing
that.
he sacrificed his social
Made that sacrifice.
accountability to focus more so on his intelligence.
In my mind, all children are geniuses. Why? Because you can teach a child 12 different
Yeah, my mom told me the other day that it's between 0 to 36 months is the most critical time
And so in
for a
that
child's
space,
growth.
your genius can effectively be stamped out because of your nurturing.
Yes.
Right. And so I don't.
Yes.
And when I think about what you said, most people, are tapping into 10% or geniuses tap into more. I think we all started on that playing field
Correct.
in regards to genius. Right. Our brains are extremely plastic. Right. Neuroplasticity is a thing. You know what I'm
Up
saying?
into a point though, right?
Up into a point.
So
Right.
if you have a 3-year-old that has been nurtured
If
from
it's
zero
fostered, then yes.
from 0 to 3 years old, that 3-year-old may be using more of their brain than a
Absolutely.
25 to
That I can
30-year-old
agree with.
individual.
That I can agree
right?
with because they not unlocked it, but they
Well, yeah, I mean,
tapped
true.
into
Yeah,
it
right.
a lot earlier.
Right. I mean, there's levels there. Even when you get down, we was having a conversation about spirituality before this, and there shows a level of maturity when it comes down to even being able to have that conversation without getting mad.
Exactly.
I feel like as we had that conversation, like we have unlocked a level of consciousness within ourselves
Sparking interest. I was
to be able to have that conversation without debating and trying to prove the other man right. Like I said something really critical that a person that may be on another level of vibration within their mentality would have got pissed off and livid at. Right. Whereas you was like, I need to look that up. And then you mentioned a book.
Let's figure that out.
Then you said something. You was like, okay,
Yeah.
those are maturity is also a level of consciousness, and we talk a lot about emotional intelligence. Like for a man to suppress how he feels for the betterment of himself is a master lesson. Like there's a book called The Master Key System, and the Master Key System takes you through a 30-something week process that allows you to use the master key to unlock things within yourself. They involve meditation. They involve doing things at a certain time of that day. And as we discussed alpha males, and before we wrap this up, no matter what book you read, you will see how the echo of discipline is within men. You listen to President Obama talk about it. You listen to Kobe talk about it. You listen to Jordan talk about it. You listen to how all these individuals were so disciplined, whether it's studying film, whether it's reading books. I mean, President Obama went to a community college to start off with. He transitioned to be the president of the United States. A lot of people don't know that he did that before he went to,
Big goat.
It's
Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Choosing to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday with no food.
discipline.
That's discipline that's unheard of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just
know
don't
what I'm
see
saying?
it. And
Poise.
to watch
People
someone
will
do that, it's like,
Consider this point. Everyone on the outside, normal people will look at you as if you're crazy.
Oh, yeah.
For taking
they did.
certain leaps.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they will.
Yeah.
But you know why you're
But that's why
doing
that's
You
like
locked in.
Yeah.
You locked in.
Yeah,
You got
like
tunnel vision.
Like
You
I
know
can
what
I
that
can
is.
relate. I can relate personally because within 3 days I'll be vegan 100% for a year.
Nice.
Within
dog.
appreciate it. Yeah. Within I think 15 days.
yeah.
Within 15 days, I would have meditated every day for the last year.
Okay.
So like June is a big month for me as far as disciplining myself to do something, and I always look at it as the opportunity of what haven't I locked in there and done yet? Can I do it? Like me and my girl did a fruit fast where we did nothing but fruit, nothing but juice for 5 days straight. No other food.
Felt good.
It was hard as it felt good. It was hard. I ain't gonna cap.
Fulfilling when you finish, though. It's fulfilling when you
I ain't gonna cap.
facts.
But
You make
yeah,
it.
so I was able to lock in on that and be like, because I see so many people do fast and break them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I always tell myself, like I'm always at competition with myself first, other people second. You know, so like to sum the conversation up, man, alpha males exist, beta males exist, but both of those characteristics exist in everyone. It's just all about what you're willing to do to unlock it. Not everybody is willing to sacrifice. Not everybody is willing to defer things. Deferment is
that was
huge.
that was my joint.
Because like you have to tell yourself, you have to be able to look at everybody else enjoy a certain thing, and you willingly defer it from yourself to attain something later on.
Yeah.
And so I think all in all, man, is all about harvesting the alpha that's in you if that's what you want, and understanding if you are a beta male,
Can you backtrack?
if you want to be alpha.
That's what.
Like I can relate, me and Colton can relate because it's like if you want to be a noob, it's certain shit you gotta do.
Gotta do it.
And it makes you understand as a
I
brother.
don't like how these niggas just
Hey, hey,
What's going on?
You know how challenging it is to be an alpha male. To be an alpha male.
We saying alpha male.
I kind of feel weird about it, but I feel weird about it. But to consider yourself an alpha male and then go through that process, and
It's like-
that was the hardest part. All the other stuff is like
It's like y'all should be kappa males. That's what y'all should be.
I'm like,
I want to add a little
that
something to
humbling
it.
yourself was tough.
Also, people got to realize that you can coach somebody up into their
Yes.
alpha male.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
we might see somebody as a beta male in certain situations, but everybody has an alpha in them, and you can coach them up, or they have that point of realization by themselves.
Absolutely.
So if you're a good coach and you're an alpha male, you should be able to coach an alpha male up in whatever they want to be.
For sure.
So,
You should be able to replicate the process.
Right.
And
Exactly.
Each one reach one.
Yeah.
And Colton, go ahead and wrap it up.
It's a
go
last
ahead.
tidbit.
Go ahead.
This is the last tidbit, and this isn't alpha male. This is in reference to the zone. And I actually heard this. It's a movie quote, but it's the closest definition of the zone for any athlete that I've ever heard. The zone is the point at which serenity meets chaos.
Yeah.
That is the
agree.
point at which you were in the
Calm
zone.
and
It is so
so
much around you,
strong.
but you were completely zen. While there is
That's what zen
so
is.
much going around, and everything's slow.
That's
Even
what
playing
zen
basketball,
is.
it's slow mo around you. Wrestling wise, I was like, my body was already headed there before I decided to take that shot, and I was there, and it was like, damn, he's not even moving. Like he literally walking into everything, but that space, you're able to find that. And I think that's through meditation that you can find that you can control finding that.
Yes, yeah. And so meditation is what has grounded me to be able to deal with highly, highly stressful situations in my life, but remaining at the same level as if everything was going perfect. You know, understanding that everything is going to be okay. Understanding that the effort and the time and energy that I have put in to get to this position today, that I can deal with this now complicated task or issue without missing a beat in other areas of my life. So it's I feel like, and I'm gonna say this word and I'm gonna mean it, this phrase, I feel like everyone has this, the ancient people used to call it demigods, right? Everybody has this demigod within themselves that they can harness. And that alpha male is that because you understand as a black man, as a alpha man that's a black man, you understand that you are a supreme being. You understand that there's nothing on earth that you cannot accomplish. And you understand that whatever task is put in front of you, you will not waver in front of that. And you will always stay focused. You will stay in the zone. You will stay zenned out. And you will understand where you are in the hierarchical system. And you understand that you're at the top.
And that's how you keep.
Let's
how
go.
you make sure you and your
Alpha
wife
man,
feel right.
beta. There you go.
That's how you keep wiping right.
Yes, sir. Here's another one. Clap it up, man. Another good one. Get you some Bell and vodka.
Yeah.
Do that.
That'll get you an alpha male way.
Yeah.
Whatever task